simple enemy AI. This tutorial has been heavily requested, so I'm very glad to be able to bring it to you. Let's get started. The enemy has 3 states: a roaming state, a chasing state, and an attacking state. The enemy intelligently changes between the states depending on what the player is doing. It roams. Once the player gets within range, it starts chasing. Once the enemy gets within range, it starts attacking. And then once you run away, right? Once it becomes out of range, it starts chasing again. And then if it gets out of range of the chasing, it starts roaming again. It smoothly transitions between these 3 states, and that's all it does. There's nothing else. This is very expandable, though. I may expand upon it with a second tutorial, but I really recommend you experimenting with it and adding your own stuff. So let me show you how it works. So with this demo, there are 3 parts: the enemy spawner, the enemy, and the character. Let's start with the enemy spawner, which is the most simple. It's just an emitter that's continuously emitting the enemy, and it's set to max emitted at once 1. So right when you kill it, it will emit another one. The player, pretty much nothing's changed with it, except there's a tag called player, and then it has an attack. So when you press square, it emits... I actually didn't demo this, but when you press square, it emits like a damaging wave. But for what you guys came for, the enemy. There's sound effects, poses, yeah, all of this stuff. The controller logic, it's just a health manager. None of that stuff matters. What matters is the brain. So let's go through this. I use this a lot, this logic formation a lot, and I call it a state machine. So what does that mean? Basically, each selector output is a state. The idea behind a state machine is that only one state can be active at a time. The enemy can only be in a single state at a time, and when you're in a state, things happen. In this case, we have a roaming state, a chasing state, and an attacking state. How do you change between them? That's what this logic is for. The state, let's call this the state controller, because that's what it is. The state controller switches between the states. It looks messy, but it's really not that messy. Before we go through the state controller, let's just go through what is happening in the different states. The state controller is like the main logic, though. So in the roaming state, and by the way, I hope this is obvious, you can put whatever you want in these 3 microchips, but only one will be on at a time. So in the roaming chip, we have a randomizer that is randomizing every 2 seconds. We have a rocket rotator that's always making the enemy face in the direction it's moving. And in all 3 of the randomized there's 5 outputs for the randomizer. In the first 3 of them, this mover is on. This mover makes it walk forward. In B, I have it rotate counterclockwise. And in C, I have it rotate clockwise. In D and E, nothing. So it just stands still. Oh, and obviously there's a text displayer that says roaming. Okay, how about chasing? This is probably the simplest one. Chasing text displayer. It's just a follower that follows the player. And actually an important part of this is there's a minimum distance on this follower that's set to 0.4. This prevents the enemy from getting right on top of the player. And there is a look at rotator. Probably could have used a rocket rotator, but look at rotator works as well. So it just makes it face the player. Now, the attack. So this one is a little complex, but you'll see why shortly. The actual attack isn't. The reason that demo didn't work was because it's powered off. So now this should work. Yeah, there you go. The attack is just a headbutt. Again, it's like the easiest thing I could throw together. And then there's one more keyframe. So this is where it gets a little funky. So, well, I'll cover this keyframe later. But basically the keyframe turns on a switch. So that's what happens in the 3 states. Now let's go over the state controller. The state controller sets what state the state machine is in based on stuff. The stuff being, for this case, a sight range zone, an attack range zone, whether or not the enemy is attacking, or actually, so this is actually when it finishes attacking, and what state it's currently in. So let's just get that out of the way really quick. This keyframe turns this switch on. But yeah, so let's just go through how this works. There's 4 different state changes, right? There's 3 states. We can go from chasing to roaming, roaming to chasing, attacking to chasing, and chasing to attacking. So for example, you can't go from attacking to roaming. You can't. You could set it up that way, but in my state, in this enemy, you can't. That doesn't make sense. So let's look at this. Well, let's look at these 3 outputs: roaming, chasing, attacking. These set the selector, right? So if this is powered on, it puts us into the roaming state. If this is powered on, it puts us in to the chasing state, and etc. So let's just go through how this works. Chasing to roaming. So we're chasing, and we go into the roaming state. So what would need to happen? We would need to the player would need to be out of the enemy's range, right? And that's, well, and a couple other things actually. Let's just go through it. Right. So you see a couple of things here. There's 2 things with an AND gate. First, we need to be in the B state, which is chasing. Oh, I don't think I went over that really quick. So this selector, I took this active port and put it into this active port. So this selector mirrors this selector. It's just to make it neater. That's literally the only reason. I could have taken these wires and noded them into here, like with nodes, put them into here with nodes. But I did this instead. It's just 1 wire instead of 3. So let's get back to this. Chasing to roaming. If you're going from chasing to roaming, first you have to be in the roaming state, which is state B, and the player cannot be sensed within this zone. So it's this zone, not. If both of those things are true, for 0.2 seconds, we output a pulse, which puts us into the roaming. Might as well cover this really quick. What is this timer setup? Why did I put this into the reset and the power? So what is happening here is every time this turns on, the timer resets and is powered on. So if this loses power before the 0.2 seconds is finished, the next time it gains power, it will reset. So in effect, what is this doing? This for this to pulse, this needs to be on for 0.2 seconds. All right, 1 down, 3 to go. So what's next? Roaming to chasing. We're in the roaming state, and we're going to the chasing state. Similar sort of thing. In fact, it's pretty much identical, except 1, we have to be in the roaming state, which is A, and we do sense the player. So this is on. AND gate, and then that timer thing again sets us, or it puts us into the chasing state. So we're in roaming, we see the player, 0.2 seconds later, it puts us into the chasing state. How else can we get into the chasing state? Well, we can get into the chasing state from attacking. Now, I have it set up to where every time the attack finishes, it goes right back into the chasing state. You could have done it differently. This is just the simplest way. So you could sense if it's still within attack range and keep you in attacking kind of thing, but this way it just puts you into chasing after every attack. I like this way better because it makes the enemy stick onto the player better. Honestly, either way is fine. So instead of putting you back into chasing after every attack, you could just sense whether this is not true and you're in the attack state, and then put you back into the chasing. But again, I just wanted to do it this way. So how does this way work? This turns on. This sends an on signal during this attack. When it turns off, so when the attack finishes, this pulses. So pulse at off, which puts us back into chasing. And we will immediately go back into attacking if what? If it senses the player and we're in chasing state. So, and that's, again, and that's the fourth one, chasing to attacking. Senses the player and we're in the chasing state. And that's it. That's a state machine, and that is the enemy AI, the simple enemy AI. You could definitely expand this. You could add more states. Maybe there's a state where the enemy is stunned. Maybe there's... the thing is, like, it doesn't necessarily... So being stunned definitely should be a state. But, for example, maybe you have multiple attacks. That shouldn't be a state. That should probably be all contained in the attacking state. A state should be unique from the other states. So, for example, the attacking state is unique from the chasing state, and it's unique from the roaming state. There would be no reason... I guess you could actually make multiple states for multiple different attacks, but it's all up to you. Oh crap. I guess I've never tried jumping. Hopefully this fixes it. I've set this dampening and strength to 0. Yeah, that's better. I hope you enjoyed the video. I hope this helped. If it did, consider subscribing. If you aren't already, of course. I stream Dreams on Twitch every Tuesday, Wednesday, Friday, and Saturday. Although now it's going to be Thursday instead of Friday, so keep that in mind. So I guess it's Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and Saturday. And I also have a really cool Discord community. The link to that is in the description. So is the Twitch channel. With the Discord, though, if you have any questions about Dreams, just feel free to ask. We have a ton of people that are really good at logic, including me, but that'll be able to help you out. I think it's better than the subreddit. I think it's better than Twitter. Like, honestly, my Discord is pretty darn good for getting Dreams help. Anyway, guys, I'll see you in the next video. Have a great rest of your day. I just wanna be with